follow up just last night. Musa was a plus 29 in about 18 and a half minutes. I was curious, just as a head coach, how much do you look at plus minus, and when you go back and look at the film, when you see a number like that, what are some of the things you're looking for? Because I think there's plus minus, I think, is maybe a polarizing statistic sometimes. Just curious what you or your views on it.
Yeah, personally, I try not to get too caught up in the plus minus. My experience over the years has been it doesn't tell the full story. Even last night, like Ryan was a minus 22, I believe it was, and I didn't feel that way during the game. I didn't really feel that way when I went back and watched. So, but Musa, I thought, had a huge impact last night. I thought he did a really good job defensively in our switching coverage and also being able to go center field at times. I thought that Chicago really tests you from a transition defense standpoint and just a MIG. Your most important guy having to have individual pride, and that's one of the things that I think that every night consistently he gives us his on-ball presence and ability to guard a lot of different people, and then offensively, the offensive rebounding, the ability to play in the seam has gotten a lot better. So I definitely think Musa earned his plus 29, and I thought that he really helped the game and impacted it a lot. But I would say overall I try not to get too caught up in it because I don't think it tells the whole story a lot of times.
Charles, unless you tell us differently, it appears LaMelo and Brandon will play the second half of this back-to-back. How much does that encourage you? And not only that, but does this, I guess, signify the next stage of their return to play?
Yeah, it definitely is another positive step for those two guys, being able to play in a back-to-back. And with that, though, comes still me being mindful of not pushing it too far as we do enter in kind of like that next tier of their return-to-play program. But I'm excited for them. I know that they've been working really hard. They've been responding well to the minutes that we've been able to give them so far, and look forward to having them out there today because they definitely help our team in a lot of different ways.
And Colin is somebody who I think he said last night on the radio postgame where he said something to the effect of, whatever role coach wants me to play, I'll play it starting, reserve, et cetera, and so on. And as somebody who's a 7-year pro in the league, how much of an example is that for the young guys to know that you can have a role on this team regardless of where it sits in the rotation?
Yeah, I love Colin for that, and he's one of those guys, even when he says it, he truly means it, that he will do whatever myself or the staff or the team need him to do for us to be successful. And I think that he's actually started to really find his way the last couple games. Defensively, he's impacting the ball a lot more and starting to pick up full court. And I think he's getting a better feel of offensively where to be and how to play with our pace and play with the pass aheads and screening and all of our plays and actions and stuff. So I love the progress he's made. But I think it's Colin, it's Mason, it's Pat, it's all these like veteran players that understand the importance of being a star in your role and embracing it and being ready for your opportunity. And it sets a really good example for our young guys as they start to learn what the league's about and what having a role looks like and what professionalism looks like to be able to help impact a sustainable culture.
Colin is 2 of 16 from behind the arc in the past 2 games, but how have you seen him be able to impact the games without that shot falling right now?
Yeah, I think he's taken some really good looks. He's gotten some really good looks. He's taken some really good shots. I didn't even notice he was 2 for 16, if I'm being honest with you, because he hit some timely ones. He's taking the right ones, and I just think he's playing the right way. Like, he's still able to get a piece of the paint. His gravity, teams are still obviously game planning for him as a shooter, and so he adds driving lanes for other guys. And then he's stuck his nose in there, got a couple offensive rebounds every now and then. His screening has been really good. He's created indecision for other teams' coverages. And so, we go through little periods like this. I think Sion started off the season really hot, and then he had a little bit of a lull, and now he's kind of starting to come back too. So it's part of your first year, having to deal with different defenses, having to deal with the fatigue maybe your body feels as you go through these like grueling games and a lot more physicality and athleticism. But he works his tail off, and I know that those shots will go down, especially, like I said, they're the right ones.
I do have 2 questions, Coach. The first one, Miles was in here last night, and he talked about that defensive play that LaMelo made, I think with 4 minutes left in the game yesterday, how he dove, and that you specifically showed that play to the guys in the locker room. Wondering what your message was and what you thought about that play specifically.
Yeah, I was happy for Melo because, so much is talked about when we come into these media sessions about his struggles offensively, but there are just so many other ways to impact the game as you were trying to work through some of that stuff. And for him to come up with a big moment like that is big for him. And I think it's also really big for our team. It just shows that these guys are really embracing and understanding what it is going to take to win. It ain't easy. And plays like that, you got to be willing to get on the ground and scrap for a loose ball. And I thought he did it at the beginning of the game, which was great. He comes up with an offensive rebound down on the floor and then kicks it to Ryan for a dunk in the first quarter. And so you got to do it at the beginning of the game. Then you also definitely have to do it as we get to crunch time, to clutch time. And that's what I expect of him. And that's what the standard is for everybody on the team.
Just played this team less than 2 weeks ago and obviously came down to the wire. How much do you take from that game to kind of talk to your guys to prepare for tonight?
Yeah, we take a lot. I think that we got a good punch from them. We got a good look at what their team is about and how they're going to play. And we can talk in a scouting report about how fast they play. And then when you get out there and have to actually feel the pace, it's a lot different. And so it's good for our guys to know tonight as we come and we're going to talk about transition defense again. They've experienced it and they understand what people's tendencies are on this team in transition, who's going to the three-point line, who's trying to get a piece of the paint, who's trying to post early in the clock. And then I think also just in-the-game execution, like knowing how big and physical this team is. I think that they came up with some big plays down in the post or down in the paint. Some offensive rebounds were critical for them. And then on the other end, some of their length and athleticism helped them get some blocks at the end of the game. So we'll take a lot from it, and hopefully we learned a lot. And I look forward to going back out here and trying to get a little bit of revenge.
Going back to the minutes thing a little bit, especially with LaMelo, how are you, I guess as a coach, I'm sure there's probably a number in your head about how many minutes you want him to play each game. How are you, I guess, communicating that with him, and how do you ensure that those numbers are kind of adding up the right way so in the fourth quarter you have them available and crunch time if you need them available?
Yeah, the communication happens on the front end. So, credit Mello, credit Pat Chase, our director of performance, and his whole staff of putting together a really comprehensive plan, Lamar. From the coaching staff too, and those conversations are had beforehand, so we're not in the game trying to, with emotions and everything going on. There are times I'll look at him like, can we get 1 or 2 more minutes? And he'll give me that look. But I think that everyone's on a good same page, and the communication channels are just really good right now. And again, like I've always said, the thought process with the plan and the minutes is just to put him in the best position to be able to be available for as many games this year, because we understand how important he is to our team and to our organization.
And you were saying about the back-to-back again earlier. I guess how as a staff do you guys determine when your top players will go on back-to-backs?
Yeah, that happens, every day. Every day there's communication from how did they respond to playing this many minutes, and whoever dove on the floor, did he get a nick or a bruise? And so there's conversations that happen every day from an injury standpoint to make sure all of our guys are healthy and available and in a place to be able to play in back-to-backs.